I have personally taken 10,412 sales calls over the last 10 years, closing over 20 million in sales. And there's some interesting patterns that I've noticed that separate the bad from the good and the good from the great when it comes to how successful you are as an entrepreneur. This video is for anyone who closes in the high ticket space. You could even be a CEO, a sales manager, a CRO, sales director, sales rep, setter. You could be anyone who is potentially going to hit the phones and speak to someone trying to get their money into your pocket. And if that's the case, this video is for you. If you don't know who I am, my name is Usman Kiani and I'm the founder of Guided Growth. We're one of the UK's largest sales consulting businesses, and we work with businesses between $1 and $10 million in revenue, and we explode their sales with our high-level consulting in sales. So let's get straight to it. The first point is to fuck your script. Literally, grab your script and burn it. You know why? Because it's absolutely useless. When I started one of my first jobs in sales, I was selling coffee machines in London, and my manager at the time told me to write my script word for word. And I wrote it out, spent about 30 minutes writing every single word. Then I would call every single prospect and just splurge that script at them. And you know how many sales I got? None. And then every time I went off script, the manager was like, hey man, you need to stick to this script because this is how you're gonna sell. I kept trying, weeks had gone by. And you know, at the time I was trying to make commission because I needed the commission. I was powerlifting at the time. The powerlifting belt was costing me £200. All the Snickers bars I was eating every single day with every single meal. And if you know who Mariusz Pudzianski is, I was doing his diet, which is a Snickers bar with every meal. And these Snickers bars and this powerlifting belt weren't cheap. And I needed this commission so I can compete in powerlifting. The script just would not let me, because every time I would call someone for these coffee machines, they would just hang up. Hey, I'm calling from XYZ, and I would just say the standard script and they would just hang up on me every single time. But you know what happened when one day the manager was out the office? I just changed the script slightly. I tweaked it. What I did was I just called and I would just tell people, hey, I'm just looking for the person in charge. Just wondering if you can point me in the right direction. And you know what happened when I changed the script? People started having conversations with me. But then not everyone would have these conversations with me, because that same script that I changed to wouldn't work for everyone, because now everyone is reacting differently to the words I'm saying. So what I did was I started having conversations, and the conversations were just understanding, hey, does this person have a coffee machine in their building? If it's a no, and they have more than 20 people in their office, there's a potential for a coffee machine. So what I needed to do was to know how to have a conversation. I didn't need to know what to say word for word. An amateur sales trainer and all these sales gurus online will tell you, you need a sales script. You need our sales script. The truth is, they're trying to sell you their sales script. They're trying to sell you their program. What you actually need is a framework. You need a framework to know when the call starts and when it's in the middle of the call, or what kind of things they've tried towards the third of the call, and when you do a pitch, how to pitch and how to objection handle. You don't need to know what to say word for word, because that's you predicting that everyone is going to say the same thing back to you. So you're predicting that every single person that you call, which could be hundreds of people that you're going to be speaking to, is going to say the same thing again and again. And this is why Instagram and all these sales gurus are telling you, when they say this, you say this. But if you say the same thing to every single person, are they all going to react the same? No, and you know they won't, because if it was the case, everyone would be smashing sales. But you know who is smashing the sales? The sales closers that are emotionally intelligent, the ones that know how to speak, the ones who know how to have a good conversation. And how you have that conversation is first by literally burning your script and throwing it in the bin. you can't throw a script in the bin if it's burned. So what you need to do with your script is burn the script and flush it down the toilet, because it's not going to do anything for you. It's actually going to stop you making money. What you need to know is how to just have this conversation. And if you want to know the exact framework of the conversation, click the link below. I give you our $2,000 sales training for free. I don't want to charge you for sales training. It's something that I've done for all of my life. Now, if I was to charge you to give you a basic outline of how a sales call, I don't think that's very good. So I don't think I'm actually being authentic. So if you want to get our entire sales script for free, just click the link below, see the Guided Growth community, and access the full sales training, where you'll get to see how we actually frame the call. So fuck your script, learn how to frame the call in the different phases that you were speaking, and then you'll start closing more people, because they'll treat you as a human, not a robot. Point number 2 is to say less and do more. You know, when I was a kid, I would tell everyone all the things I'm going to do. I would tell everyone deep down, I'm going to accomplish this. And what I was actually trying to do was just trying to impress them. I was telling them all the things I was going to do. I'm going to bench 2 plates. I'm going to make 5k commission. It was all garbage because I hadn't done it yet. I was hoping that I would do it. And by telling others, maybe that would help me because that would put pressure on me. But people would hear my drive and they would see that I was not acting on all the words I was saying. So what would happen over time is you're just a talker, you're not a doer. And people then move you down the pecking order. They then give you a label. This guy's just all talk. And the truth is, I was all talk. And if you're someone who's got a big game and you talk a big game and you feel as though your game is bigger than what you've actually accomplished, this point is actually for you because you might actually be talking way more than doing. And I've been there. I've been someone who just did all the talking but no doing. But then what happened was I ended up lonely. I didn't have a lot of friends. As a teenager, I was pushing people away because what was happening was I was trying to fit in by showing how ambitious I am, all this stuff I wanted to get. And the truth is, I was ambitious. I was trying to achieve those things, but I didn't know how to do those things. And when I didn't get them, it would only push me away from people. So then you end up a bit different to everybody else. And then it's like a spiral. You look different, you sound different, you are different because you're behaving different. And it's like a domino effect. And the number one thing that turned it around for me was when I finally thought, you know what, I'm going to finally start doing. And the doing started when I just finally got one job and I just settled down. I stopped having all these side hustles, stopped having all this energy in me of what I'm going to do. I feel as though I got my first real job with great guidance at 24 years old. And that's when I stopped getting so distracted. And even during that phase, I was still looking for side hustles. But what I did do was hone in on developing one skill. And because I was just developing one skill, I started doing. And the doing wasn't giving me results there and then. The doing was developing a skill. And that skill that I'm still reaping the rewards for years later. So 8 years ago, when I first started selling in a certain process and I learned selling at a really high level, not just in my amateur ways, doing call center jobs. When I first started selling for a big company, I finally realized there's a system to this and there's a process. And the system and process was if I learn all the skills and then I implement, people will then be gravitating towards me. And I'll tell you the first time this happened to me. In 2015, I won the sales rep of the year for the company I worked for. It was a big gym chain. And I outsold every single person in the company. And at the end of the year, when they had the awards and I got this big award, I'll put it on the screen. You can see it's like a star that I achieved. And every single person would come up to me and congratulate me. That was the first time I'd ever had people come up to me and tell me how much, like how they've been watching my stuff through the leaderboards, how impressed they are by me. And that level of dopamine hit that you get from recognition, I realized I'm driven by actually doing. I'm driven by the recognition that you get from doing, not just the money. Because although I was making okay commission, it was actually the recognition and the reward and the reputation that was driving me. And now, till this day, we're now turning over in the multi-millions, but that's not what drives me. What drives me is being the best in the UK at sales, being the best for CEOs, providing them all the tools to actualize their ambitions. So being mission driven is now the same thing that I learned when I was 24, and it was doing more and saying less. I don't need to say, hey, we're chasing this 10 million goal, even though it's nice to be able to say that. The actual doing and the achieving is what people will learn from. So stop saying more and just start doing more. And the last point for you, because I want to make it super digestible so you can action these things today, is to be optimistic at all times. I hate negative people. I run away from negativity. If I sense that someone's a Debbie Downer, someone's a pessimist, someone's negative, I will run 100 miles from that person. All my life I've come across negative people, pessimist people. And you know what they'll tell me? Hey, I'm realistic. I stay away from all of those guys. If you're negative, you're staying away from me because that energy is contagious. It is like a disease. Negative energy, when it comes near you, you can sense it. I'm going to tell you this. Only recently, I just went for a sports massage treatment, and the guy who was giving me the massage, he was a lovely guy. He was a really nice guy. He was doing a treatment on my back. It's a bunch of knots because I'm sat here all day. And do you know what this guy did? He was telling me how tough it is for him, how hard his job is. And I got drained because he wasn't seeing the opportunity. So he was asking for advice. Every single question that he asked me, it was draining me, because I don't want to hear how hard it is for you. And I'm going to tell you a story that's just only happened. One of my setters, he recently got a headache. And for around 2 weeks, every single time his head was hurting, he decided to tell me and to tell the team about it. Now, the first instant is, right, is he okay? Does he need to go to the doctor? Should we give him a paracetamol? But then if we're hearing that you have a headache every single day, do you know what that's doing? That's giving us a headache. That's giving us a headache, and it's draining our energy hearing that. So I had to call him and check him and say to him, hey, do you know how often you're actually telling us that you have a headache? Because I know you have a headache. You can actually call in sick if you want. Obviously, he wouldn't get his commission. He knows that he's trying to hit the end of the month goals. But I said, hey, if you have a headache, that's totally fine. You can be off, you can go to the doctors. You don't have to come in if you're not well. But if you're telling every single person how much you're struggling, then it's going to drain everybody else. So I don't want to hear how much you're struggling. If you are truly struggling, you can come to me. We can have a sit-down conversation. There is some empathy there for you, and we'll give you all the things that you need to support you. But if you're telling us every single day, it's going to drain everybody else. You know, negative energy is like a disease. Once it actually leaks into the team, everyone will catch it. Do you know if you've ever had a job and you have that one person, and if you don't know who that one person is, it's probably you, and they're complaining about the system, complaining about the leads, complaining about the manager, they're complaining about something, and you know that person would never last in my business, because once you have one complainer, they will make everyone believe that it's shit. You could have great lead flow in your business, but because one person complains about it, everyone starts to think there's an issue with the lead flow. That one person who's negative can't exist in your business, because the average positivity level is, if it's like a 8 or 9 or 10 out of 10 for your entire company, if you get one guy or girl in there who's a 3 or a 4, they're going to drain the life out of your business. So there's no pessimists, no realists, as I would even say, around me. I want optimists around me. I almost want some delusional people around me, which is the highest form of optimism, because at times I've had to be delusional to be able to forecast what I'm doing now. 3 years ago, I was in a room with damp on the walls, and I had to be delusional to say, hey, I'm going to make $1 million a year. And then I did that. The goal was to hit 83,000 a month. And I hit that goal only because I was delusional, not because I was optimistic. Because anybody else in that environment, when I was living in North London and there was these guys around me who were sharing this house and they were all paying £700 rent and all struggling, if I told them, hey, I'm going to make $1 million a year, I'd just sound like a clown, because it doesn't sound real. Because I told you about lesson number 2 about saying less and doing more, I used that same lesson and I just started doing more, but I stayed optimistic. So you stack all of these points together. You start doing more. You start not just talking like a robot and like a script. You start having real conversations with people. And you start being optimistic and really setting big goals for yourself. And if you stack these 3 lessons together, you will achieve ridiculous amounts. You will achieve more than any type of book that you will read. Just stack these 3 lessons and you'll win. And you'll win bigger than everybody else. And you'll dust all of your friends in competition that doubt you, because you'll be able to outthink them, outgoal them in your mind. So that's how high you have to be achieving. If you like these videos, they're not the same as all of our high-level sales videos for CEOs. Drop me a comment, tell me that's useful to you, share it on your socials, get more people involved in the content that we're putting out, so it tells us that we're doing a good job, and I'll catch you in the next video.